Good morning, everyone. We are studying Kitzur Shluchan Aruch Chapter 19. Although last time I believe we covered the beginning of the chapter, it's worthwhile repeating. Chapter 19. The laws pertaining to the additions of Mashiv Ruach, Tal Umatar, and Ya'aleh V'Yavo. These are additional words of prayer that we add on special occasions. What happens and how important they are, what happens if we omit or replace them with words that are not the appropriate ones. Number one, in the winter, in the second blessing of Shmona Esrei, which is right before Mechalkel Chaim, we recite Mashiv Ruach Umorid Geshem. And therefore, we begin making these additions during the Musaf service of Shmini Atzeres. Before the congregation recites the Shmona Esrei, the sexton announces Mashiv Ruach Umorid Geshem. If he does not make the announcement, this phrase is not recited by the congregation when they recite Musaf. We begin saying Mashiv Ruach and Musaf of Shmini Atzeret, but the Gabbai must announce that it's time to say Mashiv Ruach. If he forgot to say it, it is forbidden to say Mashiv Ruach. We have to continue saying Betel Tal Umatar. On that festival, Shmini Atzeret, a sick person who prays alone at home, and similarly, those who live in villages where there is no minyan, should wait to recite Musaf until the time when they are sure that Musaf has been recited in the cities. Then they should recite Musaf, including this phrase. So in a community like our community, if God forbid, and it happened, I believe, the first year I was here, there was only 9 men for Shmini Atzeret, we should daven Musaf way late, when we know that in the nearby city, which would be probably Miami or Boca, the East Coast, when they already began saying Mashiv Ruach, and the Gabbai over there at Armenian already announced that. Otherwise, it is forbidden. If we decided we want to run home, we are hungry, we want to party, we have to say V'tein Tal Umatar, not allowed to change it.
I understand that logic.
There has to be an announcement.
Cliche, but if the announcement is 100 miles away, that's not an announcement for us.
Right. Okay. For that we need to study the Gemara that deals with it. Mashiv Ruach Umorid Geshem is recited until Musaf of the first day of the holiday of Pesach. That is, the congregation and the Chazan recite it when they recite the Shmona Esrei in a hushed tone. Afterwards, when the Chazan repeats the Shmona Esrei aloud, he does not recite it. From then on, it is not recited. I don't believe that. I believe that in most communities, and actually he's going to talk about it, what he's saying is I don't think it's practiced. But the rule is that we say Mashiv Ruach until Musaf of first day of Pesach. Accordingly, someone who prays alone on the first day of Pesach should pray early so that he will be able to recite Musaf before the Chazan has concluded reciting Mashiv Ruach. In other words, according to him, you should have in Musaf on first day very early so you can say still Mashiv Ruach before the large city nearby started saying Morid Atal. In the city, because someone who recites Musaf after the Chazan has ceased reciting it should not recite Mashiv Ruach. Because if you start davening late, and in the big city they already davened in Musaf, they already started with 10 Tal Umatar, it is forbidden for us to say Mashiv Ruach. There are places where in the summer, instead of reciting Mashiv Ruach and Morid Geshem, they recite Mashiv Ruach and Morid Atal. We say only Morid Atal, praising God for granting us dew. In these places, the sexton should make the announcement to this effect before Musaf on the first day of Pesach. Then the congregation makes this addition when playing in a hushed tone also, and ceases reciting Morid Geshem at the beginning of the Musaf. So this is the way we practice. We have the sexton, because we say Morid Atal, in other words, we replace Mashiv Ruach with the phrase Morid Atal. Therefore, the sexton makes announcements right before Musaf, and in the silent prayer, in the quiet Amidah that every individual recites on Musaf, they already say Morid Atal. Number 2, the following rules apply should a person err and omit Mashiv Ruach or Morid Geshem. If he remembers before he concludes the second blessing of Shmoneh Esrei, ending Mechayei Ameitim, just before Atah Kadosh, he remembered then that he didn't say Mashiach Baruch Morid HaGeshem, he should recite it at the place where he remembers. So then he should say Mashiach Baruch Morid HaGeshem and continue on the prayer. However, he should take care not to interrupt the concept. For example, where he to remember after he recited Umekayim Emunosoi, he fulfills his trust, he should continue and say Le'shenei Ofo, to those who sleep in the dust. Then he should say Mashiach Baruch Morid HaGeshem and then continue the blessing Mika Mocha. So if you remember in the middle of prayer before Mechayei Ameisim, make sure you don't say it in the middle of the phrase, but finish that phrase of what is this you're saying, say Mashiach Baruch Morid HaGeshem and continue. Alternatively, should he desire, he may begin Mashiach Baruch Morid HaGeshem Mechalkel Chaim, saying the entire blessing over again. If he wants to, when he remembers, he forgot, he goes back to Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed, etc. Should he fail to remember until he concludes the blessing Mechayei Ameisim, he forgot and he has already mentioned the blessing, God's name, he is required to begin the entire Shmoneh Esrei from the beginning. It is not sufficient to begin from Atah Gibor, the beginning of the second blessing, since in this regard, that is a person who concluded a blessing improperly, the first three blessings are considered as one, and it is necessary to begin at the start of the Shmoneh Esrei. If he already said Baruch Atah Hashem Mechayei Ameisim and then he remembered later on, he has to stop and begin from the start of Shmoneh Esrei. If one erred and omitted this phrase during the evening, morning, or Musaf service at the first day of Pesach, he need not repeat his prayer. If it happened on the first day of Pesach, there is no need to repeat. Number 3. The following rules apply should a person from the communities where it is customary to recite Mashiach Baruch Morid Atal, like us, we say Morid Atal in the summer, recited the phrase in the winter as well, instead of Mashiach Baruch Morid HaGeshem as required. If he did not remember until after he began reciting the concluding blessing, Baruch Atah Hashem, he should continue Mechayei Ameisim. He need not begin his prayers again because he omitted the mention of rain, since he did mention dew. However, if he does remember before he mentioned God's name, he should recite Morid HaGeshem at the conclusion of a concept. What the rabbi is saying is, in the places where they don't say Morid Atal, they just say Mashiach Baruch Morid HaGeshem, and in the summer they don't say nothing, then if you forgot and you continue after the blessing, you have to start from the beginning. But in our communities that you replace it with Morid Atal, if he said Morid Atal, in other words, he mentioned dew instead of rain, which he should have mentioned rain, but he forgot, then he don't have to repeat the Amidah, he continues on. Number 4. The following rules apply. Should a person err and recite Mashiach Ruach in the summer? What happened in the summer? He's supposed to say Morid Atal, instead he said Mashiach Ruach. If he remembered before concluding the blessing Mechayei Ameisim, he should begin again Atah Gibor. He should start from Atah Gibor. This repetition is instituted so that the blessing will be distinguished as one in which Mashiach Ruach is not recited. However, if he remembered only after he concluded the blessing Mechayei Ameisim, he must repeat the Shmoneh Esrei from its beginning. And the reason is, rain during the summer is a curse. And therefore, if he asks for rain during summer, he must repeat the Amidah. His prayer is inappropriate. In the winter, if he forgot to say rain and he asked for dew, there's nothing wrong. Dew is something that's good all year round. Therefore, he does not repeat. But even in the summer, if he asks for rain, then he has to repeat if he concluded the blessing. If he recited only Mashiach Ruach without concluding Umorid HaGeshem, there is no difficulty and he may continue Mechalkel Chaim. Because he asked for wind, Mashiach Ruach means he blows wind, and Morid HaGeshem is bring down rain. But he didn't ask for rain, he just asked for the wind. That is okay, even if he said that during the summer months. If one erred and recited Mashiach Baruch Morid HaGeshem in the evening or morning service of Shmini Atzeret itself, there is no need to repeat one's prayer. In other words, just like with first day of Pesach, the first day of Shmini Atzeres, if someone errs, you don't have to repeat. Number 5. We begin requesting Talu Matar, dew and rain, adding the words V'tein Talu Matar Livracha to the blessing of Barech Aleinu from the evening service of the 60th day after fall equinox. This always falls on the 4th or 5th of December. We continue making this addition until Pesach. So he's talking about outside of Israel. In Israel, the 7th of Cheshvan, but here we do it at the night of the 5th of December. We start asking, V'tein Talu Matar, please place dew and rain for us in Barech Aleinu. Now it's going to talk about the rules, what happens if we forgot. The following rules apply should a person err and fail to recite V'tein Talu Matar if he remembered before he completes the blessing of Mevarech HaShanim. He should recite V'tein Talu Matar Livracha al Pnei Adama and continue V'sab'einu Mituva and conclude the blessing as usual. If it's before you say God's name, Baruch Atah Hashem Mevarech HaShanim, he goes back to V'tein Talu Matar and does the blessing again. If he remembers after he concludes that blessing, he should continue praying, and in the midst of the blessing of Shema Koleinu, after reciting Rekam Al Teshivenu, before Ki Ata Shomea, he should recite V'tein Talu Matar Livracha, and then continue Ki Ata Shomea Tfilas Kol Peh. Even if one passed that point and did not remember until after reciting Baruch Atah Hashem Shomea Tfilah, as long as one did not mention God's name, one may say V'tein Talu Matar Livracha and continue Ki Ata Shomea Tfilah. So if I finish the blessing of Barech Aleinu, then I remember I didn't say V'tein Talu Matar. When it comes to Shema Koleinu, before Ki Ata Shomea Tfilah, we say V'tein Talu Matar Livracha and then continue. If I forgot even before I said God's name, I can say it. After God's name, it's a different story. However, if one did not recall until one finishes the blessing of Shema Koleinu, Shomea Tfilah, one must return and begin again from the blessing Barech Aleinu. If one did not remember until after reciting the verse Hiyu Leratzon at the conclusion of the Shmona Esrei, one must recite the entire Shmona Esrei again. If I remember after Shema Koleinu, Retzei Modim V'Sim Shalom, I go back to Barech Aleinu and I say the whole prayer. If already I move, I said Hiyu Leratzon, which is the concluding of the Shmona Esrei, I have to go to the beginning of Shmona Esrei and start all over.
You say Borech, and then you go back to where you...
No. Then you say all the prayers, yeah.
Again.
You start from that page.
From Borech, yeah.
From Borech, and you continue
the
on.
The Shofar and all of those.
Vashiva Shoftenu, etc. I'm pretty sure.
What?
Number 8. The following rules apply should doubt arise in a person's mind whether or not he recited Mashiv Ruach. What happens if I don't remember? And it happens to me a lot. I don't know about you, but you don't remember after the Shmona Esrei. Did I say it right? Didn't I say it right? If this occurs more than 30 days after he began reciting that prayer, and thus he has already recited the prayer properly 90 times, assuming he's davening 3 times a day, so it comes out after 30 days, we already said it about 90 times, we can assume that also at present, he recited it properly. However, if the doubt arises within the original 30 days, he must pray again and taking into account that he probably did not say the proper prayer. So someone who prays 3 times a day ends up saying V'tein Talu Matar or that new addition that came either in the winter or the summer already 90 times. After 90 times, we assume that it's so imbued, it's so embedded in the person that that's the way he said it naturally. Earlier than that, we're not sure, and therefore we treat it as if he didn't say it. Similarly, in regards to V'tein Talu Matar, if the doubt arises after he had already recited 90 prayers properly, now you need to know 90 prayers properly is not 30 days, because on Shabbat and holidays you don't say Barech Aleinu. Right. So therefore you have to count 30 days. Someone who unfortunately didn't daven 90 times that prayer, then you have to count 90 times. We consider that the person has followed his established pattern of praying correctly. However, before he's established such a pattern, he is required to repeat the Shmona Esrei. So you go about 90. The magic number in Judaism is 90 for making sure that you follow a certain pattern, especially things that change every 6 months. So if you had Barech Aleinu, let's say during the holiday of Sukkot, where you have 2 days, then you have a Shabbos, then you have another 2 days and another Shabbos, you're missing 2 prayers on a Shabbos, you're missing 2 days each day of the 2 days, so you end up with another 14 or 15 prayers that you're missing. So therefore, Mechalkel Chaim, you have it every day regardless of Shabbat or holiday or weekday. But Baruch Aleinu, you have to count 90 prayers.
So if it's 5 days a week, then the period of 90 days becomes 18 weeks rather than 12, roughly.
Whatever.
But many people have the custom to say it 100 times when it's time to say it. So it's ingrained.
Okay, I heard that and I don't know that it's acceptable.
Just repeat
I don't think it's
Messing
acceptable.
Hashem's name.
I don't know, but in my opinion, and I may be wrong, the only way for it to become a pattern is if it's said during prayer, part of a prayer. It's like an apple a day takes the doctors away, right? So how about I take 300 apples and I eat them in one day? Do you think it will take the doctor
sick.
away?
You'll see the doctor.
You will see the doctor, right? How come? If an apple a day keeps the doctor away, I should eat 365 apples and that's it. You know, there is shortcuts that work, but most times they don't. And that's my opinion. I may be wrong. Number 9.
I think it's a learning thing. If you say it
Training.
100 times,
But
but
you have to say it with the prayer
Right.
before and after.
Right. But it
Otherwise,
should be well versed in your lips. But it's
Right.
only a chinuch thing, I think.
Number 9, a person erred in the evening service of the first night of Pesach, began reciting a weekday, Shmona Esrei, and remembered in the midst of the blessing, Borech Aleinu. Yeah, he forgot that it's a holiday. He prayed weekday. Now he comes to Borech Aleinu. Now he has to say the prayer, and he doesn't know, should he say Mashiv Ruach, or he should say V'sein Umoto, because tomorrow they start with Saint Alamoto. Right after the holiday, and Chol HaMoed, they say Saint Alamoto. Says the rabbi, the law is that he must conclude that blessing, as explained in chapter 76. In this event, he should not recite V'tein Talumatar because it is not recited by the congregation at that day. He shouldn't say
Yom
it.
Tov davening is supposed to be.
No, he forgot.
Right, so he davened
Chol, and he forgot until in the middle of Baruch Aleinu. Now he remembered by Jewish law, if you start Baruch Aleinu, you have to finish that blessing. The question is, should he say V'sein Talumatar or V'sein Bracha? Says the rabbi, he should not say V'sein Bracha, he should say V'sein Talumatar because the congregation didn't change yet.
Other way. You should not say Kain Talumatar because the change hasn't been.
Okay, so this is in Shmini Atzeres. Thank you. So on Shmini Atzeres it happened of the first night of Pesach.
So he says Borech.
He should not recite V'sein Talumatar.
Does he finish Shmona
I'm
Esrei?
really confused if you got the Baruch Aleinu.
Okay,
Sounds like
he
he says
says the
nothing.
other way. He should not say V'sein Talumatar because the congregation is not going to say V'sein Talumatar today. It's a holiday, that's why. Not because they changed, because they're not saying it.
So
Therefore, he should say V'sein Bracha.
So he gets to Borech and he says this. That's fine. What does he do when he gets to Mevorech, Baruch Hashem,
Mevorech Hashanim,
and then what?
and then he has to go back to the beginning of the holiday prayer.
Right, he stops right there.
Right. We'll study it in chapter 7.
This would be pretty much submission to get to that point.
He is very
Yeah,
submissive.
he's submission.
But I gotta tell you, it happens.
It has happened, yeah.
It happens.
It happens when you're done by yourself.
If the day on which if the day on which one should begin reciting the Saint Talumatar falls on the Shabbat, and a person erred and recited the weekday Shmona Esrei, and also began the blessing Barech Aleinu, same story as before which I studied, he should not recite the Saint Talumatar. This decision was reached because the congregation had not yet recited that prayer, and an individual must always follow the congregation. Next week, God willing, we will discuss the laws of Ya'aleh V'Yavo. Thank you very much. Let's stop right here.